Yeah. You know what comes a time in every man's life when we're ready to settle down and make things right, but only for that special one. We be trying to make her you, but y'all want to keep playing games with these lames. So make your next move your best move, cause we the best dudes. Oh yeah, don't settle for less, babe. I can love you better than you can imagine. Take you from the madness. Girl, I don't know why you keep these lanes around. You wildin' out. Don't you settle for less. What up, beauty queen? You know I really wanna invite you to my world and show you my unique persona. We can get together, steam it up like a sauna, take you on the natural high, no marijuana, just a bottle of wine, some ice chill prosecco. You holding on to that lame dude, you should let go. Knew you was gonna be mine from the very get-go. I'm trying to make you white because you special. You got the best clothes, designer fresh clothes, make your own dough, own your home dough. Vehicle was fully paid for, that frame flame though. Selfie queen, you know your angles. Red bottom heels, 5 diamond encrusted bangles. We got the same goals, copping land and counting bankrolls. Creating generational wealth, so our seeds grow. I know your needs though, and you know mine's the same. It's an honor and a privilege to give you my last name. I can love you better than you can imagine. Take you from madness. Girl, I don't know why you keep these lanes around. You wildin' out. Don't you settle for less. Trips and shopping sprees, you know that's mandatory. I'm trying to open your mind, peep the allegory. They say that love don't last, so let's change the story. I send my heart out to you, please come for me. Let's take control of our love. No conforming, late night love sessions lasting till the early morning. Cooking breakfast, but naked eggs, bacon and toast. Fried potatoes and onions, girl, I love you the most. When my body be aching, you rub the pain out. Roll up the Dutchess for me while I pour champagne out. I pour my heart and my soul, plus my pain out. You got a real one right here, so leave them lanes out. You gotta be, girl, please stop with the games. The mother lady's wasting your time, girl. Why they know we even in your phone? They always think the time. You should just fuck with me. So don't settle, don't settle, don't settle for love. Stacks with the facts. E&E. Real contender. RJ Adonis. Singing the hooks and the vibes. Yeah. So all my ladies, don't settle for less, babe. Don't let a wintertime hangout turn into a summertime bang out. You know what I mean? Get you one that's gonna be there for season, baby. Don't settle for less. Know your work, baby. I can love you better than you can. Don't settle for less, baby. Take you from the back. Know your self-worth. Girl, I don't know why you keep these lanes around. Yeah, why the now? Don't you settle for less. Yeah. What up? You already know, man. It's the man about town, Virgil, aka Stacks with the facts. And you already know what it is, man. Thursday night, ladies' night. We getting straight to it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Right? And we're going to always do it like we used to it. You know? It most definitely is. Right? What's good with everybody? How y'all doing tonight, man? What's good with y'all, man? What's going on? What it is? What the business is? You know, it's a beautiful day in the city today. If y'all ain't hip to this Midwest Columbus, Ohio weather, man, we experience all 4 seasons in a week, possibly, potentially. You know? You know what I'm saying? It'll be 80 degrees today. It'll be raining tomorrow. The day after that, it'll be 30 degrees. You know what I'm saying? And then the day after that, it'll snow. Yeah. That's that Midwest weather for you, man. You know what I'm talking about? It's that Midwest weather for y'all, man. What's going on with y'all? How y'all feeling? Right? We're going to do it like this real quick, y'all, right? We're going to do it like this real quick. And I'll be right back. I'm about to play this song right here for y'all because I got to go make a quick phone call real quick, and I'll be right back. Tap in, walk with us. I'll be right back shortly. You know, y'all going to listen to this E&E, this Butcher Boys. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Y'all know what time it is. Butcher Boys. I bet you like the way we do it, huh? Smoke a little, drink a little, you into it, ma? Got the loud, roll it up, and this crown in my cup. Guaranteed to turn this motherfucker up. Now everybody hands up and hold them high. We gon' make it hot, bitch. 4th of July, like the pilot in the cockpit. I'm in the sky. It is what it is, nigga. Don't wonder why.
Watch the champagne pop, that's how winners rock. Oh, you back here next year? That's beginners talk. Like geekers in the hood get smacked in the community. Pick the left or right hand, it's equal opportunity. They start the eulogy, they dead from all the foolery. Keep your mouth shut, man, honest, brutally. Drip down frugally off E&E jewelry. Every bar explicit videos containing nudity. Shorty don't know what to do with me. That's cool with me. I usually put it all together quite beautifully. I'm a different dude, so I got a tip for you. Walk peacefully, you lucky I'm in a giving mood. No stress, this easy. Had to leave me with a 3-piece. This #1 seating shit. About to do a 3-piece hit. So critical, it's coughing at a physical. All these rap tutorials, I'm what they pay attention to.
I bet you like the way we do it, huh? Smoke a little, drink a little, you into it, ma? Got the loud, roll it up, and this crown in my cup. Guaranteed to turn this motherfucker up. Now everybody hands up and hold them hot. Get them hot. We gon' make it hot, bitch. 4th of July, like the pilot in the cockpit. I'm in the sky. It is what it is, nigga. Don't wonder why. Yo, dollar signs. Yep. I see them dollar signs. I wake up and I wake up and I get up on my grind. I'm a shooter, so I don't need a lot of time for mine. Release. It's looking like it's green every time. Green watch, so I stay fresh. Bitches getting shady for the dough. You niggas looking crazy for the dough. Making bands in this bitch, like I'm Diddy, now you know. Chopping trees, I'm buying vows. Pat, can I get a old big works? Keep them coming sick. Real niggas feel the shit. I'm well polished in everything that I manuscript. I've been fire since niggas was rubbing 2 sticks. I'm too sick. Ask more doctors, I'm tough to deal with. Track and field through a beat, that mean I run shit. Do. Niggas bringing swords to gunfights, that's dumb shit. Dummy. With your boys, I promise we can't be fucked at with. All. The guarantee, I guarantee niggas we on the up, bitch. Yep. I bet you like the way we do it, huh? Smoke a little, drink a little, you into it, ma? Got the loud, roll it up, and this crown in my cup. Guaranteed to turn this motherfucker up. Now everybody hands up and hold them hot. We gon' make it hot, bitch. 4th of July, like the pilot in the cockpit. I'm in the sky. It is what it is, nigga. Don't wonder why.
Three runner, Uncle Diggity, OG, what it do, man? You already know what it is, man. You and me, we the best. Tap in, walk with us, man.
Grind time, all the hustle scrapping hit the floor. When you win all the time, you forget the score. Fake tough guys had a problem before. You had a hard knock like somebody at the door.
I'm at the door like knock knock. I'm here, nigga. Only difference, I ain't joking. I'm what you fear, nigga. I see the money and lights. I'm like a deer, nigga. Rolling up whatever I want. Just so we clear, nigga.
Straight gear shifters, make her own lane. Real butcher boy shit, make her own name. Pipe shorty so good, then my father drains. This fuck the best cook, got a fog of brains.
Kush clouds, we blowing heavy, you better know it. Give me all my trophies and rings, this is my shining moment. Niggas be on that sucker shit, we not condoning. Undefeated on track, so who's the next opponent? Glitch.
Brother never told you.
Yeah, y'all already know what it is, man. We here Thursday night, ladies' night, you know, and we're gonna sit here and talk about it, man. Right? What's good with y'all, man? You know? Yeah, man. What's good with y'all, man? Y'all already know what it is, man. Another Thursday, we here having this discussion, and we gonna talk about it. We gonna get right to it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. You hear me? Now, this conversation, you hear me, is a conversation I think needs to be had for a lot of reasons. You know what I mean? One of those reasons being, right, and I'm about to sit up here and pull this up on the screen for y'all, right? One of the reasons being, right, is like so many words in the English language, especially new words and new phrases, a lot of them are based in absolutely no meaning whatsoever, right? But since we're going, I want y'all to understand, right, that this is a fairly new word, right? I'm gonna do this for y'all. It's a lot of these words like this too. A lot of these compound words like this. Hold on, that's the perfect one right there. Hold on. This emotional intelligence things is a fairly new concept, right? Right. It's only been around for a little over 30 years, right? And I know some of y'all, you know what I'm saying, who like to play semantics and stuff. I know y'all probably think that's a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, that's not a long time. So like I said, it's a fairly new concept, right? What my man OG say, emotional intelligence is another way of saying thinking with your heart is important as thinking with your, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Emotional intelligence is Orwellian newspeak gobbledygook to replace the actual word of empathy, right? Now I'm about to pull this up on the screen so y'all can see this, right? Give me a couple seconds. Let me go ahead and take this Butcher Boys off for y'all and throw this up there, right? Right. Now, peep game, y'all tap in, walk with me, man. Right. In the mid-1970s, Howard Gardner introduced the idea that intelligence was more than just a single general ability. It was not until 1985 that the term emotional intelligence was first used in a doctoral dissertation by Wayne Payne. Right? Now, this Howard Gardner guy, right? Howard Gardner was an asset of the Rothschilds, just like everybody else. Howard Gardner was associated with Dr. Richard Day, of all people, and guess who else? Margaret Sanger. All these people are connected, man. Lance Parker, what it do, man? You feel me? And I just want y'all to know, like, let me just get this straight, get this clear before we even get to the meat and potatoes of the situation, right? Right. I'm not denying that emotional intelligence is a thing. I'm not saying it's not a thing, right? I'm not saying it's not based in reality, right? What I'm saying is it's not, how can I say? What I'm saying is it's not a measurement or a tool that can be used to measure, right, something that's valid or invalid, especially to differentiate between right and wrong, right? Emotional intelligence is just like what my man OG said, you know what I'm saying? A fancy way of trying to equate emotional intelligence with critical thinking, and they are absolutely diametrically opposed, right? Now, when we look up the term emotional intelligence, right, a lot of these words are new. Like I said, a lot of these words aren't even 40 years old. A lot of these words are fairly new. This is a compound word, emotional intelligence. Y'all see that on the screen, right? I just want to make sure y'all can see that on the screen. The capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions and to handle this. See, this is the kicker right here, y'all. Right? This is the kicker right here. And this is why I be telling y'all to study etymology and pay attention to words, man, because they be having definitions, and pay attention to the words used to define these new compound words like emotional intelligence, right? The capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically, right? See how they threw empathetically in there, huh? And when I want y'all to understand what these words mean, right? Case in point, interpersonal, right? Interpersonal means between you and other people, right? And it says interpersonal relationships, right? But every person who you come in contact with, you don't necessarily have a relationship with. So when you see this saying interpersonal relationships, this is talking about specific relationships, not just your ordinary run of the mill. You bump into people, right? And judiciously, right? With good judgment or sense, right? Now, when y'all hear that word judiciously, I want y'all to understand what is the root word right there, right? Right? Now, of course, we all must have and display a certain level of emotional intelligence, right? But it's not applicable across the board. You hear me? Just like my man OG said it perfectly, man. Another way, see, they're trying to equate emotional intelligence with critical thinking. And like I say, the two ideas are diametrically opposed, and that's based upon respective sexes, or what y'all like to refer to as genders, right? Now, of course, when it comes to having emotional intelligence, that's a pretty natural human thing, right? We all must display a certain capacity to be aware of and control our own emotions, right? But see, emotional intelligence is kind of broad, because in this context, though, I'm not talking about in the actual definition, I'm talking about in this context, because when this term is used in normal conversations or normal dialogue amongst people, it's almost specifically, like I said in the definition, it's talking about personal relationships, right? But it's using the word interpersonal, right? When really it's personal, because when it comes to interpersonal relationships, like I said, you don't have relationships with everybody. And outside of an intimate relationship, if you have an interpersonal relationship, like say a coworker, at work, at the workplace, emotions should absolutely not be involved. Matter of fact, you should check your emotions at the door, because we're conducting business where emotions have no place. Emotions ain't got no place in the boardroom or on the cutting room floor, right? Now, it shouldn't, but over the past few decades, it has been, and that's the reason to that, right? So what I'm doing tonight is I'm showing y'all how words can be changed and how the context of them can be so broad to where they have a vast meaning, or in other words, that vastness of that meaning, in actuality, it means nothing. It has no meaning to it, right? Because when you break down emotional intelligence to its basis, what it is, it's just being aware of how you feel and how others feel, right? And to emphasize more on empathetic or empathy, empathy is being able to put yourself in the place of people who are going to suffer the consequences of your actions, right? Right? Now, empathy and emotions isn't the same thing, right? Because to be non-empathetic is not necessarily to mean to be devoid of feelings or emotions, right? Being non-empathetic means that it's not even that you don't have the ability, it's just that you just choose not to. When you choose to be non-empathetic, you are willingly choosing to not have any feelings, right? And it's a fine line between being non-empathetic and then when that goes to a level of psychopathy, right? Because one of the main traits of a psychopath they are completely devoid of empathy, right? So I want y'all to understand that too. You know what I mean? Tap in and walk with us, right? And the reason why we're having this discussion tonight, because most people who use this term are females, and they use it in a sense, right, out of context, if you ask me, right? A lot of chicks use this word or this term, say he doesn't have any emotional intelligence, he's not emotionally intelligent, right? And that's something that they throw on, especially guys, you know what I mean, when they basically don't conform to what they think they should be doing as far as responding emotionally. Did y'all catch that? Right? And I want y'all to understand, like I was explaining earlier, that this is such a broad term that it can be used in very nefarious ways, much like the term narcissist. Right? right? And when y'all thinking about emotional intelligence, of course, it's always, I mean, of course, every human must have a certain level of emotional intelligence, as in you must be able to identify your emotions, display your emotions healthily, and be aware of other people's emotions. Not necessarily, peep game, not necessarily caring about somebody else's emotions or having respect for somebody else's emotions, just being able to recognize that other people have emotions, and due to that, it's a certain modicum of decorum or decency that we all interact with each other with, right? This goes without saying. Emotional intelligence is the key to both personal and professional success. And see, that's where they got it messed up, because it's not. Not at all. Not even a little bit. Emotional intelligence ain't got nothing to do with professional success. Because to be honest with y'all, none of these corporations give a damn how we feel. None of these companies give a damn how we feel. Do you think your bank cares how you feel? Do you think your job cares how you feel? You think your credit card company cares how you feel? See, and this is what I want to put in perspective for y'all, to get y'all to challenge yourself critically thinking wise and get a wider perspective of what these terms actually mean, but what they actually are not saying. Not so much as what they mean, but what they do not mean. And this is how they throw the fuckery in right there when they compound it with both personal and professional success. Emotional intelligence has nothing to do with your professional success. Like I say, you go holler at any of these banks, and you go ahead and tell me, is their success built on, based off of their level of emotional intelligence? Ask the IRS if they care about your emotional intelligence. Ask any of these Fortune 500, 201 companies if one of their major success is because they actually care how people feel about what they doing. See how they compound these words, see how they inflate these words and associate them with things that they're really not associated with. Emotional intelligence has no place in the boardroom. Nobody in the boardroom cares how anybody feels. The bottom line is we're here to make money. And as long as we could somewhat ethically, legally, and lawfully accomplish that, if we can do that so without a lot of overhead, without caring about the repercussions of what may happen to people who are so-called consumers, let's do it. Huh? You think all these hot dog companies care about your feelings when they put in HEK 293 as a main ingredient in their hot dogs that they sell to you? You think they care about your feelings? You think they're taking how you feel into consideration? Do you think they're empathetic? And this is why I say this term emotional intelligence, although it has meaning, in retrospect, it means nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because it doesn't apply to everything. You can't apply emotional intelligence to everything, because everything does require no emotions to be involved, like important decision making, right? So y'all know we're going to sit up here and get to it. Tap in and walk with us. You know what I mean? Oh, man. Right? Smash that like button. Excuse me. Click on the bell, subscribe to the page. You did? All right. I want y'all to listen to my homie, Jordan Peterson. Love this dude, man. Straight shooter, right? I'm going to let my man Jordan Peterson, renowned scholar from the Canada, you know, he catches a lot of flack and a lot of fire in the media, right? But I don't agree with Jordan Peterson on all things, but I agree with him on most things. And on most things, he's absolutely right, right? So we're going to sit up here and listen to my man Jordan Peterson sit up here and break it down. You hear me? Tap in, walk with us. Fair use, fair use. Fair use, fair use.
Emotional intelligence? Ha! Not only does that probably not exist because it's agreeableness, you know how you always hear you need emotional intelligence to thrive in the workplace? It's like, turns out that's exactly backwards. Disagreeable people do better as managers in the workplace. So it's actually, if you lack emotional intelligence, you're more likely to be an effective manager. So an emotional intelligence is a great, you know, indicator of sort of pathology and psychology, because it was invented by a journalist. You know, you can't just have some word invented by a journalist and then go make a whole bloody, you know, enterprise out of it.
No,
you
you
gotta
can't.
find out if it's really there. And there's not a lot of evidence that it is. And what does it mean anyways? Emotional intelligence. What does that mean? I can infer what you're feeling? Well, is that IQ? Like, are smart people better at that? Or like, am I mirroring you in some way? Or do I care for you? Like, maybe I can figure out exactly what you're feeling and I just don't give a damn. You know, is that still emotional intelligence? Well, I don't know, right? How would you separate that from sympathy or empathy?
Right.
And what if you're over sympathetic to someone? Is that emotional intelligence? Like, maybe you feel way too sorry for your children. So it's like you're all empathetic and all that, but you're not doing them any good. Or sometimes you would be, but sometimes you should say, you know, quit whining, go the hell outside. Because that's the right response sometimes.
Right.
So these things are not straightforward at all. And of course, emotional intelligence is generally measured with questionnaires. And we know the rule for questionnaires. What's the rule for questionnaires?
Anybody know?
That's right, exactly. It's measuring one or more of the big five, either well or badly. Okay. So, and as far as I can tell, that doesn't mean that personality has a 5-dimensional structure. I'm not making that argument, because who the hell knows? I don't think it does, likely, although it's very difficult to say. But what the big five theorists have really demonstrated, as far as I'm concerned, is that if you factor analyze questionnaires, what you get looks a lot like a 5-factor structure, and you can do that cross-culturally. And so I think we sort of nailed the question of how are questionnaires structured. So you can't just invent some new thing and term it something and then pretend it's something new without testing it against, and I would test it against IQ.
Right. Huh? Right. Shout out to Jordan Peterson, right? Like I said, like so many words that have been introduced into the lexicon over the past 25, 30, 35 years, a lot of these words don't mean shit. They don't mean anything, actually. They're so broad and so vague, and they're meant to be that way because they can mean anything. They're formed to be able to be applicable to situations that they absolutely cannot be applicable to. Just like I've been telling y'all, what is emotional intelligence? Okay, we can sit up here and say emotional intelligence is the capacity to be aware of control, and express one's emotions, to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously, and empathetically, right? Basically, what emotional intelligence is basic interaction between humans. Like, why we gotta try to conflate that and compound that into some new word as if it actually means something when it's already something that's pretty much understood and accepted amongst us all. It's called decent human behavior. See, when you add these words and put these titles on top of it through word association, right? You can use these baseless, meaningless terms, right? conflated, compounded terms, and you can apply them to things that they don't normally apply to, right? A word that I got for y'all, a word that a lot of y'all use, my best life, living my best life. That's a term right there, living my best life. What does that mean, living your best life? It's totally subjective, right? In that, it has no meaning. Case in point, what if I'm a bum living on the street and I feel like I'm totally free? I don't have to pay rent. I don't have to worry about paying bills. I'll go where I want. Is that living my best life? See how subjective that is? That's not objective. See how subjective that is? Is that living my best life, or is living my best life living in a life of opulence in a 30,000 square foot villa in the mountains? Is that living my best life? Who determines what the best life is? This is why I say it's Orwellian, newspeak, gobbledygook fuckery. Words that are being introduced into the lexicon in order to confuse people and apply meaning to that which has no meaning, or to be used as a way, right, to be used as a tool to, make somebody subject to a certain ideology. Case in point, real men, you're not a man unless you know how to have proper emotional intelligence, as if being emotional intelligence was ever something that men were measured by, being that us men don't operate in emotions. Not meaning we don't have the ability to express our emotions, not meaning we don't have the ability to identify our emotions, but simply meaning that as men, especially, we're not designed, nor is it conducive for us to ever become emotional or consumed by emotionalism. Countries aren't built off of how men feel. But nowadays it's being made like that. In order to understand why, you have to over enter out an extra stand where emotionalism comes from, or should I say, who emotionalism comes from, right? I think my man Jordan Peterson just broke that down perfectly, right? Now, this is what we're going to do. Emotional intelligence, right? I keep telling y'all to read 1984, man. I keep telling y'all to read 1984. Y'all need to read that book. Read the book at the part. It's a section in 1984 in the appendix, and it's called Newspeak. And I want y'all to read that, man. Y'all could probably pull it up on Google or something. It's probably a PDF for it or something, man. Newspeak. Words and phrases. Words like emotional intelligence. Words like or phrases like living my best life. Right? Look at the words that they're taking out of the lexicon that have actual meaning to them and are used to describe or depict or define a specific ideology, place or thing, right? Person, place, or thing. And I want y'all to pay attention to that. Read 1984. Y'all keep telling y'all that, man. Read 1984, because 1984 is going on YouTube right now. I keep telling y'all on YouTube, the Ministry of Truth is being established specifically on YouTube, but through all across all social media. We are witnessing the Ministry of Truth be established, right? So we're going to jump straight back to it, right? Let me show y'all this one.
You know, we'd all be a whole lot better if we could just learn to speak in equations. That's what a scientist once told me once when I was working with him on his leadership skills. Of course, you and I know how awful that would be because most of what we receive in communication happens beyond the words we speak in the form of the cues that we pick up from each other. And people who are able to pick up on those cues are said to have emotional intelligence. Research also tells us that great leaders are also good at emotional intelligence.
Boss.
But my question is, what if you're not so good? Is it something that you can learn? Is there something that opens up that emotional can of worms inside and helps us better understand what's going on inside us and our friends and our coworkers? Well, about 5 years ago, I experienced a perfect storm of three things coming together that opened this conversation for me, and I'd like to share with you what happened in the process. The first was, I had just written a book called A Married Man's Survival Guide, which was based on having interviewed a bunch of men who had been monogamously married for 35 to 60 years.
Damn.
So I had a fresh set of clues that perhaps I was not the only man around who had a fairly skimpy emotional toolbox. The second thing was I had begun researching a theological principle called the dark night of the soul, which is that scary place where everything that you hold to be true in explaining how the world works no longer explains your current situation. I'll get to that in a minute.
Did y'all peep what he just said? Did y'all peep what he just said? And run it back.
The third thing was how the world works no longer explains your current situation. The second thing was I had begun researching a theological principle called the dark night of the soul, which is that scary place where everything that you hold to be true in explaining how the world works no longer explains your current situation. I'll get to that in a minute.
That's powerful right there. Case in point, right? The word or the phrase, right? Another meaningless word in its full context, modern woman, right? At any point in time, which is an illusion, right? At any point in time, it's going to be the modern time. Modern just means current or now, what's going on now, right? So at any point in time, throughout the spectrum of time, or what we perceive as time, the people at that time were the modern people, right? So modern don't necessarily mean now, but modern means right now. You understand? It's one of those words that can be applied across the span of time. Because in the 1940s, the women of that era were considered to be the modern women. Right? So I think when we use this phrase and this term, modern women, you know, that's just speaking of the women of the time. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, in the 30s, those women would have been considered modern women of the 30s. The only difference is what the ideology was at that time, what the socio-political environments were at those times, right? Tap in, walk with us, man. Smash that like button, click on the bell, and subscribe to the page.
The third thing was I was hired by a pharmaceutical firm to come in and work with their senior R&D managers on the topic of emotional intelligence. And it's there that my story begins. Now, I'm sure a lot of you watch television and you're familiar with the Big Bang Theory and therefore the character of Sheldon. Imagine a whole room full of Sheldons. Guys, and they were all guys, who had been hired because of their intelligence each of whom thought he was the brightest in the room. And then were promoted for those same skills, and now we're being moved into senior leadership. But the only problem is at that level, you can't lead by being the brightest kid in the room. It actually comes across as abrasive and arrogant. But at the same time, I just couldn't walk in and start talking to them about emotions because it wasn't part of the equation that any one of them had ever learned.
Did y'all peep that? What did I tell y'all? In business, there's no room for emotions. And for the past few decades, for very nefarious reasons, they've been trying to incorporate and include, I dare say, impose intelligence or emotions being a basis of determining how business is done. And it's a reason for that. Now think about this. All of this stuff occurred in the same span of time when they started allowing women to come into workspaces. These people who run this world are very diabolical, man. And they're very, 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 very intelligent in a sense that they understand how the world works, right? Meaning they understand the nature of reality, right? Which, sad to say, most of us don't, right? Most of us don't understand the nature of reality, right? So when it comes to business, they're incorporating emotional intelligence in order to be used as a tool to consolidate, right? And to have control over areas of business that they didn't have control over by using women and giving women positions of authority when they never were before, right? Excuse me, y'all. I want y'all to understand where we're going with this, man. If I'm talking too fast or if you don't get it, let me know, man. You hear me?
I was just a little bit upset and curious about where to start because most of these guys were what I would classify as emotionally binary. That is to say, if you asked them how they felt, they'd either say good or bad.
Wow.
So I was struggling with how to come up with a way to talk to them about emotions and the fact that perhaps frustration wasn't the same as anger and that managing people in different emotional states was actually something that required different skills. And then one day I was having lunch with a friend of mine and I noticed that she had a poster up on the wall of vegetables, only it was arranged in a periodic table like that thing that we had to remember in high school chemistry. And I thought, what if there was a periodic table of human emotions? Well, a quick search of the web found nothing, so I created one, and it looked like this. Now, relax, there's not a quiz at the end. But if I'd borrowed something as technical as Mendeleev's periodic table, it had better be as robust, or it and I would be thrown out. So you'll find things on it like the lighter emotions are towards the top, and the heavier and more complex emotions towards the bottom, with the radioactive sequences being replaced by passions and depressions, which are not only heavy and complex, but highly unstable. And it also progresses from the more visceral or gut emotions on the left towards the more lighter and heady and spiritual emotions on the right. And then to make it look more scientific, each emotion was given a chemical symbol and an atomic weight. And then I started playing with it to make it fun because after all, these are guys. And we have to play. So you'll find things in it that, that kind of reflect that. Like, for example, relief is expressed as a prescription. Pleasure was Love was given the weight of pi because love makes the world go round. And how about gratitude 24/7? The heaviest of all the emotions was dread. It was
not 6, Not 6.0 times 10 to the 24th, man. Damn. That's pretty heavy, man. Are y'all following along, man? Huh? Y'all following along, man? Let me know if I'm losing y'all, man. Tap in, walk with us.
Given the estimated weight of the world, 6 times 10 to the 24th metric tons. Geek alert. Of course, denial doesn't believe it has any weight, so none was listed.
Of course, right? Denial is not a river. Denial is a river in Africa. You hear me? That's funny that denial is 0 weight. We can equate denial with no accountability, right? And since the fair sex often did not displays absolutely no accountability, in retrospect, tons of denial. I think that's quite interesting right there. I like where this guy's going with this. Tap in, walk with us, y'all.
And it was fun. It was fun getting them to see those things and having them work through that. And it accomplished my task of getting them involved in a conversation about emotions. But it's not emotional intelligence. At the end of the day, it was just an academic discussion. But I had to start there because, after all, these are guys. And forgive me for being politically incorrect, but 35 years on a men's team and doing a lot of men's work and having written the Married Man's Survival Guide, I had a lot of information that we're not all that good at emotions. In fact...
What did I say earlier on my live, y'all? Y'all chicks be expecting us men to operate outside of our nature. My man right here just said it. Not saying that us men don't have the ability or shouldn't possess the ability to identify our emotions. I would even go further to say it is actually a part of our manhood to be able to identify our emotions. Furthermore, it's part of being a man to be able to express your emotions in a healthy way, in a healthy, productive way. But like, if y'all pay attention to what the brother is saying, it is not our design as men to be emotional. And I think a lot of y'all, most of y'all chicks out there, y'all be expecting us men to be emotionally intelligent or to make decisions or to do our thought process through our emotions, which we absolutely do not do. And it goes against our very nature, for we were not designed to be emotional. Emotional men don't make wise decisions. They don't make good decisions. So just imagine if you got a whole room full of very powerful men all in their feelings and shit. Right? I think a lot of y'all ladies don't get this because y'all have been inundated with this level, or should I say with these plethora of these what is known in certain spaces as beta males. Y'all been dealing with basically these fuck niggas, right? Who basically play to the tune of y'all's drum. And that's out of proper structural order as well, right? Men aren't supposed to ever play to the drum of no woman, right? Leaders don't play to the drum, right? Tap in, walk with us, y'all.
In fact, many of us have been taught not to feel. So you have to kind of start with the vocabulary first. But as I said, at the end of the day, it was just an academic discussion. And it would remain an academic discussion until the stuff hits the fan. Like when leaders find out that they can't lead just because they're the smartest kid in the room. Or like for you and me, when the rug gets pulled out from underneath us and we do a total faceplant in the mud. Those humbling and often humiliating experiences trigger the dark night of the soul. It can look like this. Last year, in the span of just a couple of months, I experienced the death of my best friend. A man who, even after he'd moved to Florida 15 years ago, he and I had a phone call every Thursday morning at 5 a.m. And he was suddenly gone. And then right on the heels of that, a man on my men's team passed away. He was given 6 to 12 months by his doctors. Time to get his affairs in order. And 5 days later, he died. But those weren't the killers. The real crusher came when I had to decide to close a business that I was running. But it wasn't just a business. It was an early childhood education center for which we couldn't find enough teachers. And that lack of stability isn't healthy for kids. So we had to close it. I wanted to make sure that all the children had a place to go the Monday after we closed. So we decided to outplace them into all the other schools in the area. And that Tuesday night of the last week, I was alone in my office, photocopying records to help with the transition. It was about 7:30 at night. I was surrounded by stacks of yellow folders when it hit me. This isn't paper. These are children that I loved, that I promised their parents that I would defend with my life. And I started to cry. Not just sniffles and watery eyes, I mean full-out boo-hoo tears. And I couldn't stop. I cried the whole way home, and I ran into the bedroom, and I buried my head in the pillow, and I just screamed. It hurt that much. And after 4 hours of convulsing sobbing, I fell asleep. And I woke up the next morning like this. I looked kind of much the same, but inside it was totally different. I changed. I was open. There was a hole in my chest you could have driven a Mack truck through. It was the dark night of the soul. I had read about it. I had studied it for the last 5 years, and I just completed my thesis on it in May. But I had no idea what it was like to be ripped open and turned inside out. And out of that hole flowed all kinds of emotions, some that weren't even on the chart. And driven by grief, that truck full of emotions put me in touch with compassion. You know, Brené Brown says that regret is the birthplace of empathy. And I'd parallel that and say that grief is the birthplace of compassion. Compassion, literally defined, it's the ability to suffer with and to bear with another person's feelings because you know. Compassion is the stuff of relationships. It's the glue that holds us together when everything around us is falling apart, and it's the function of the dark night of the soul.
Right, now let's stop for a second, y'all. Let's slow it down for a second, right? Because now we get into one of my various and many fields of expertise, right? Now, this dark night of the soul concept has been around for quite some time, right? Are any of y'all familiar with it? Put a number 11 in the chat if you are familiar with the concept of the dark night of the soul. And if y'all tapped in with me and y'all tap in with me, y'all could just listen to that. The dark night. Now, not night, as in nighttime, N-I-G-H-T, but the dark night, personification, K-N-I-G-T. So when I just broke that down in that context for y'all, the dark night of the soul is talking about a person or entity. Y'all see where I'm going with this? The dark night of the soul. All praises be to Yeshua, right? The dark night of the soul is basically a Orwellian newspeak for your personal demons. I told y'all stop domesticating y'all's demons. And when you are using terms like emotional intelligence, because demons feed off of your emotions, or should I say your abuse or misuse or no use of them all. You know, tap in, walk with us, y'all, man. We're going to get straight to it. Ain't nothing to but to do it. We're going to do it like we used to it. Smash that like button, click on the bell, subscribe to the page, you heard?
To tear down the ego and teach us compassion.
Well, let me just show y'all this real quick, too. This is what I really meant to do. All right. All right. The term dark night. And see, this is what I'm saying, man. Y'all pay attention to stuff like this, man. You hear me? The dark night of the soul is used referring to spiritual dryness, the absence of experience, the presence of God, but also more generally to describe an extremely difficult and painful period in one's life. The spiritual dryness may endure for a long time. All right. Huh? Very interesting. As does almost all things in this reality, this is based and rooted in Satanism and Luciferianism. It's very Saturn, it's very serpentine. Right? Tap in and walk with us, man. Smash that like button, click on the bell, subscribe to the page, man. How we've been misled by emotional intelligence. Let's go.
Being inside out, having compassion first for yourself allows you to see it in other people. The dark night literally rewires and reconnects us to each other through emotions. Now, your dark night doesn't have...
Now, what did I just tell y'all? What did I just say to y'all? I just told y'all that the dark night, or these entities, demons, feed off of our emotions or lack thereof, or overuse of. They're very, especially what would be considered negative emotions. They're deep, dark, and dense, right? They're very heavy, right? Which is why dread was the most heaviest emotion, all right? Because don't nothing make you feel weighted down like when you dread something, all right? Talk to him.
Have to look like mine. In fact, I'm pretty much guaranteed that it doesn't. It can be a big bang, or it can be 100 little things that all roll up. But at the end of the day, it's something that opens you up and puts you in touch with your emotions. And being wide open like that, allowing yourself to feel and see the feelings in other people, when you're intimate with your feelings, you know, you're completely different. The relationship changes. Maybe we've been misguided a little bit, though, by calling it emotional intelligence, when in fact it's emotional intimacy. When you're intimate with your emotions, it doesn't matter if you're black or white or Jewish or Muslim or old or young or male or female. The one thing The one thing that all 7 billion of us have in common is the capacity to feel all those emotions.
All right. So with that being said, right, everybody has emotional intelligence. Like my man said, I think we've been misled by this term emotional intelligence. I think it should be called emotional integrity, right? But emotional, what do you say? Emotional compassion, what do you say?
When you're intimate with your emotions,
Yeah,
it doesn't
emotional intimacy is what he said. Yes, I would go along with that as well.
matter if you're black or white or Jewish or Muslim or old or young or male or female. The one thing that all 7 billion of us have in common is the capacity to feel all those emotions. The feeling, the dark night feeling, might be different for you. It might be, as one CEO said to me, waking up in the middle of the night, knowing that he had the lives of a couple hundred people in his hands and feeling not the least bit worthy of that. Or it could be as simple as seeing a picture of a Syrian man in total agony as he holds the limp body of his lifeless child. But here's the bottom line. Emotional intelligence isn't about memorizing a whole bunch of words or ascribing some arbitrary weight to them to get their gravity. It's just the ability to connect with another person on an intimate level. It's the ability to know what's going on here and see it in another. And when we do that, we change the relationship totally. With all my studies, I was just another Sheldon with knowledge about emotions, but pretty much not attached to them. It seems some of us need a perfect storm.
Pay attention to what he just said. He's not attached to his emotions, meaning he doesn't get a sense of self, who he is, from how he feels. And that is a trait that us men absolutely cannot allow to overcome us or consume us. Because when it comes to making important decisions, how you feel don't matter. Case in point, when it's time to go to war, you got to leave your emotions to the side. Because your enemy is going to be emotionless. They're going to be trying to kill you. Right? It's the same thing in the boardroom.
Or a dark night to get in touch with our emotions. And that kind of brings me back to the beginning. Only let me paraphrase my scientific client who wanted to speak in equations. You know, if we could all just learn a little bit of this emotional intimacy stuff, the world would indeed be a whole lot better.
I agree.
And we would become a blessing to each one that we meet. Namaste.
I mean, I totally agree with that. Right? Totally agree with that. Yes, they do. Why did Uncle Diggity say, hey, yo, what the fuck? My man Les Parker, man, YouTube definitely pays attention to serious channels. Yes, they do. Notice that YouTube doesn't promote serious channels that are actually talking about complex ideas, thought-provoking, mind-changing, potentially challenging and questioning the status quo platforms. They do not get promoted. And as y'all see, especially tapping in with me, y'all can get an understanding why. Right? Tap in and walk with us. Right? I agree with this guy in that, of course, I mean, who wouldn't agree with that? That goes without saying. Of course, the world would be a better place if we could all have compassion and empathy towards each other, not using meaningless terms like living our best lives or emotional intelligence when it's really emotional intimacy, emotional integrity, right? Basically, common human behavior. Love thy neighbor, like the scriptures say. That's all it is. See, when you conflate it and compound it with this contexts that don't really mean nothing, and you apply it to situations where emotions are absolutely not needed, I dare say they're detriment, like the boardroom, then it becomes this tool to be used to target certain people or to dehumanize certain people. Hence the term being applied to us, saying that, oh, we don't have any men, they don't have any emotional intelligence. As if men are supposed to be emotional. And just like with this whole, the dark night of the soul, right? This is the only time men, that I suggest you ever allow yourself to become emotional, especially in front of a or your woman, right? Or your children, right? Let me bring this up on the screen now. The phrase dark night of the soul is often used informally to describe the extremely difficult and painful period in one's life. For example, after the death of a loved one, the breakup of a marriage, or the diagnosis of life-threatening illness. So with that being said, fellas, the only time a man should allow himself to be emotional, consumed by his emotions, and it's okay, is when it's the death of a loved one, family, or friend, right? In the event that you find out you or someone close to you, family, loved one, friend, has a terminal chronic dis-ease, right? Or something like you break up with your wife or your long-term girlfriend. I'm pretty sure we can all relate to that. Those are the only 3 circumstances where it's actually acceptable and okay for a man to be or allow himself to be emotional. Any other instance, it is totally non-productive, counterproductive for a man to ever allow himself to become emotional. Because like I said, men who are emotional when there shouldn't be, or when the context doesn't provide, they don't make good decisions. We don't make good decisions. Case in point, I got 3 penitentiary numbers, all based off of decisions that I made out of being emotional. You try being a man and see if a chick gonna goddamn it follow your lead if you an emotional ass a nigga. Every time something come up, oh, I just don't know, babe. Like, I just don't know. Like, I'm just overwhelmed. Like, here, you do it. Ain't that what y'all like saying? You do it. Get somebody else to do it. Ain't that what y'all like saying? It's okay for men to be able to identify our emotions. Once more, it's even better if we can, in a healthy, productive way, display and express our emotions. But men are never, under any circumstances, save for these 3 right here, allow themselves to become emotional. The Most High didn't design us men to operate and make decisions based off of how we feel. I want y'all to understand this, man, right? And y'all women, y'all need to stop expecting men, manly, masculine men, who don't make any decisions that's important based off how we feel. We make this, like I made this post the other day. Matter of fact, let me bring it up. And this is powerful, right? This is a powerful, powerful statement right here. And I'm not saying it because I said it. I'm saying it because it's true, right? Tap in, walk with us, smash that like button, click on the bell, subscribe to the page, share on your social engineering, right? Let me find this post real quick, man. Tap in, walk with us, smash that like button, click on the bell, subscribe to the page, man. You did. Let me find this damn post, man. All right. Damn, man. See, hey, when you looking for something, you've seen it, and now when you actually need it in a situation like this, you can't find it. Nah, man, I ain't about to sit here and do that, man. Inspector Gadget, what's good with you, man? What's good with you? See, look at what Inspector Gadget said, though. Right? Shout out to Inspector Gadget. Right? What's good with you, girl? How you doing? Right? In my honest opinion, see how subjective emotional intelligence is? Anybody, it's just like emotional intelligence, like I say, is comparable to saying living my best life. In her opinion, emotional intelligence is the ability to maintain one's composure, displaying communication with empathy and maturity, displaying healthy situational work. You mean regular human behavior? That's what I'm saying. We giving titles and words to things that we already have an understanding of that really don't really have a word for them because they're widely understood amongst us all as a collective human being, family, right? Because see, what emotional intelligence means to Inspector Gadget, I might not necessarily agree with that. It's very subjective, meaning, right, that it has no meaning for real. It can mean whatever you want it to mean. Right? My definition of emotional intelligence might be different than yours. You understand what I mean when I say that? This is why I say in that it has no meaning. Even the dictionary definition, this is basically what Inspector Gadget just said. Right? It's no definite meaning to the definition. Right? Especially when it introduces words like judiciously, which has more than one meaning. Right? Tap in, walk with us, y'all, man. We're going to get straight to it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. And we're going to do it like we used to it. You did. Yeah, man. Smash that like button, y'all, man. Quick, matter of fact, I'm going to go here. I'm going to sit up here and do this. Right? Because we about an hour and 20 minutes in. I'm going to do this. Right? I'm going to drop that old link. I just dropped the link. You want to come and add to this, add on. You want to challenge, dispel, whatever. You're more than welcome to come up. Right? Now, as long as you ain't on no bullshit and you don't be disrespectful, everybody's welcome. You're all welcome. Everybody's welcome. You dig? Everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome. right? I got a good mind to play that song from H-Town. Emotions make you sad and high. Me and my brother, Mr. Pringles the Barber, is going to, I think, somewhere on the 20th to go see this guy right here. 19 Keys. Y'all hit the 19 Keys. Yes, I know you a chick talking like that, Inspector Gadget, man. This sounds just like a girl talking. Not just regular human behavior. Mature and clear, sober mindsets will be the humans to take such speech, actions, behaviors. Lack thereof equals stunted growth, but not impossible to change or improve. Exactly. I couldn't agree more. Right? But when I say, I mean, I see what you're saying, but when I say regular human behavior, I mean, this is something that throughout our life that we slowly pick up the cues on. This is not something that has to be taught to you, right? Per se. It's more something that has to be shown to you, right? And I say regular human behavior because regular human behavior is just treating each other decent. That's why I say, you mean regular human behavior? Having emotional intelligence, you mean just having natural empathy for your fellow man? Being able to put yourself in the shoes of those who are going to suffer the consequences of your actions, whether they be negative or positive, right? Let's check out 19 Keys real quick.
Because I feel like, especially in coming in education, when we write down lists, it actually becomes easier for us to see them and we can actually execute on them. And we had a high-level conversation the other day, and it was funny because you never know where inspiration is going to come from. I was like, yo, Keys, man, I got this brilliant idea. And you looked at me and said, yeah, you got it from me. I said, how you know I got it from you? Because I said it before. Even subconsciously, you might have heard it. I said, damn, this brother's smart. But let's talk about it because this is bigger than business, but these are like life principles. And so you got this theory of ease. And so let's break this down because I know everybody's writing. That was great 8 apps that Shai just gave. Let's continue with writing. Let's start with education and how, from a business standpoint, that could be valuable, and obviously from a life standpoint.
Well, it goes towards growth, right? Education is what you learn. You understand me? And so what you learn will dictate what you can do. So when you talked about that model of effectiveness, he told you what he uses. But the game is now that you now have the knowledge, you need the access. The access is not just what it is, but how to use it, right? So the education would be, okay, Shad, I just heard you say that you built a multi-million-dollar company with 8 apps. Can you give me the game? Because otherwise, the time that is going to take for me to learn it is going to be wild. Except when you can give me the game, and if I can pay you to give me the game, now you're just giving me access. The people with the most access today wins. So having the right coach, having the right mentor.
That's a fact. Pay attention to what I just highlighted that Inspector Gadget said. Of course you pick up cues, but it's also maybe harder for narcissists. Another baseless word that definitely don't really have too much meaning to it. It's very subjective. Right? That's that word, man. You hear me? Right? Pay attention, man. Tap in and walk with us.
Having the right teacher. It's no longer about just taking a course, right? It's now about having a coach, because everybody have all this access to information, but some people are using it better because they have better access. So now everybody got social media, but some people giving them the game on how to create a media company and a business. So for me, the education is also learning how to learn, right? See, low level, well, most people think that low level means something bad. It doesn't. Low levels is just the details. So we have different type of learners. Most people cannot grasp onto the details because they don't understand the high level, which is the concept. So when you're learning anything new, you have to say, do I understand the high level first? If you do that, now you have a foundation to build on in your brain. So when we're learning, we go through this process of unlocking and relocking, because I got the keys, right?
19 of them.
Now, when we reprogram and we unlocking. So literally neurons in our brains detach from each other. New information, new perceptions, new ideas get built into that neuron, then it relocks in. So we're so afraid of change, right? Because we want to stay the same. We feel like we're missing a piece of ourselves, but replace the word change with growth. Replace the word change with evolution, right? Because then people won't be afraid of upgrading, won't be afraid of updating. So for me, education is the most important, because when I look across the spectrum of how all people build their wealth, it's based on what they know.
Yeah, so the first power principle was education. Let's go to the next one, exposure.
Okay, and this is where I'm going to disagree with my brother 19 Keys. Education. What does it mean? No, really, what does education mean? Right? And as y'all always hear me say, there's a fine line between education and indoctrination, right? Right? Let me pull this quote up for y'all, right? Pull this quote up for y'all. Right? This is one of my favorite quotes by Einstein. Right? My brother Albert Einstein. All right. Let me pull up a different one. All right. It's one of my Mr. O, my Joe from Chicago. What it do, man? Oh, Uncle Diggity, what it do, bro?
I'm just on stage smoking, listening to you, nigga.
Uncle Diggity. All right. Right. It's an interesting topic, right? Well, let me pull this up for y'all real quick. All right. This is my favorite quote by Albert Einstein. All right. The only thing that got in the way of my learning is my education. Huh? Education, indoctrination, synonymous, same. Right? This is why I be telling y'all chicks who think y'all smart because y'all got a college degree that y'all haven't been educated, y'all have been indoctrinated. And I'm not shitting on anybody who has a college degree. I'm not sitting here castigating anybody who went to college, nor am I deterring you from going to college if you feel that's something you want to do. But what I have learned as a person who actually been in college, what I learned about going to college is exactly what my brother Einstein said, right? The only thing that interferes with my learning is my education, right? Education, indoctrination, right? You know what your degree represents. And once again, I'm not shitting on anybody who has a degree. I'm not shitting on you. I'm definitely shitting on your degree, though, right? All your degree is a piece of paper telling you, right, that you're good at telling the system what it told you to tell it. That's it. And it qualifies you to be a cog in the machine of whatever corporation you go work for. Who would disagree with me on that? I know a lot of smart-ass dummies. I know a lot of educated fools. What say you, Uncle Diggity?
Mr. Word. I got noise going on in my back. My bad.
What, you got a bar in the club or something?
I'm at the house. That's the wife and her daughter and shit talking in the background.
Oh, okay. You said you too, Mr. O? I see you listening to that elevators.
It's my mood, my background joint when I'm listening to A-Real talk and shit, man. Put me some tunes
man.
on
I
the
like
server.
that. That's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, but shit, emotional. What are we on? Emotional fucking intelligence.
Yeah, you see, my man said emotional fucking intelligence. Hey, Uncle Diggity, keep it real, bro. That is some Orwellian shit for your ass. So if I ain't heard a more Orwellian term than emotional intelligence.
I mean, shit. What is it more than just fucking having awareness of your emotions or some shit? Maybe being able to control them, fucking being aware of other people's emotions.
Right.
Reading the what the fuck exactly are we? I mean,
exactly.
What are they trying to make it? Because it's one thing, but what are they trying to make it?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, like I said, emotional intelligence is another. Go ahead and mute your mic for me, Uncle Dude. Emotional intelligence is just like I say, it's Orwellian newspeak gobbledygook. It really it's so subjective that it can mean anything to anybody, or anybody can define it based on their own personal belief or experience. So with that being said, in retrospect, in its full context, it doesn't have any meaning. It's meaningless. Right? I want y'all to understand this, man. This is why I say it's Orwellian newspeak. Right? Because there's a lot of words in newspeak that took the place of old words that had actual meaning, like love, like awesome, spectacular, specific words, to where in newspeak in 1984, it just was either good or double plus good. Huh? There's no emotional human aspect to the term double plus good. It don't even feel comfortable or natural coming off the lips. Does it? You imagine every time you see something cool, you didn't say it's awesome, it's sweet. Oh, that's tight, that's fat, that's nasty, which can mean other things too. Just imagine saying, oh yeah, that's double plus good. I'm trying to challenge y'all to expand your mind and think critically, think outside the box, think for yourself critically. Number two things I always tell y'all why and cui bono, right? Who benefits from a society so consumed and identified by how they feel? Who benefits from that? How do we as a society benefit from everybody being all softened in their fucking feelings all the time? Who benefits from that?
Bro, that would be a mess, bro. That would make the trees and shit stop growing and shit. All that goddamn sorrow in the air.
No, that's when we think about our emotions, we automatically through word association, we equate emotions with bad feelings, not feeling good. Do we not? When you say somebody doesn't have emotional intelligence, you're not saying that they don't know how to be happy. You're not saying that they don't know how to be gleeful or cheerful.
When I hear the word emotional, I automatically think it's something negative. Automatically. So if you throw intelligence on the back of it, it's like, okay, what emotional intelligence. Okay.
What the fuck does that mean? That's what you want to say, Uncle Diggity. What the hell does that even mean? Right?
I'm really trying to think of, an educated fucking, other than what I said, the obvious and shit. I'm trying to think of what really educated I could give to emotional intelligence. Like,
right. Well, I'm gonna just go ahead and do this for y'all one time then, because I'm gonna just pull up the actual meaning of the word. Right. And when you read this definition, it's so vague and broad, like it can mean anything. It doesn't have no actual meaning. It's not it doesn't have a structured, solid meaning to it. It can mean whatever you want it to mean. Right? Just like I said earlier, Uncle Diggity, living my best life. What does that mean? I mean, no, seriously, what does living your best life mean? What is the definition of living your best life? Very subjective, right? I gave an example of a homeless guy living on Skid Row in a cardboard box, eating out the trash can. Who's to say that he's not living his best life? Would you say that's living your best life? Or y'all fake woke people nowadays say, not for me, but if that's his best life, then that's me. Come on. When has homeless ever been the best life for anybody? But what did the Most High say? He said, the poor will be with you always. So when y'all think about that, think about these so-called prosperity preachers that y'all give all y'all's money to. Right? Tap in and walk with us. You feel me? Shout out to my brother Albert Einstein, man. The only thing that interferes with my learning is my education or indoctrination. Right? When you go to school to get educated, right? You're being indoctrinated with the specific school of thought, if you would, right? Say, for instance, you're going to school to be a psychology major, right? You're being educated on how to basically be a psychologist, or ones who understand how people's minds work and function, right? And be able to determine and decipher what people are thinking based off of how they what? Feel. Huh? Y'all never heard psychology broken down like that before? That's all psychology is you learning the steps or the procedures or processes, right, involved with people identifying what they think by how they feel. And what did I tell y'all earlier? Men, my brother Uncle Diggity, we don't make decisions based off of how we feel. We make decisions regardless of how we feel. That's what I was looking for. Hold on real quick. Tap in and walk with us. All the men in the chat, would y'all agree with me when I say that? Right? Shout out to Albert Einstein, man, for making that famous quote. You did? Right? Do y'all see that? Y'all see that? I posted this a couple, last week sometime, right? Us men do not make decisions based on how we feel. We make decisions despite how we feel. You did? And it will behoove y'all to know the difference, loved ones. Right? Now, Uncle Diggity, how many chicks you think actually know that there's a difference between this?
Between what, bro?
The difference between making decisions based on how you feel and making decisions despite how you feel.
With percentage?
Yeah.
How many know that? I'm gonna say maybe a strong 15, and that's being generous. Maybe 15%, maybe. I mean, no, because that's what kid they work up out of. That's how they based and shit. So
right.
It takes that oddity to have that different type of thinking and shit,
I'll agree with you. I'd have said less. I'd have said.
Yeah, that's why I said 15, and I'm being generous with that.
Generous,
I mean, yeah, I'm definitely being generous with that. I mean, just from my own personal experience, but the country is a big place, and so is the world. So,
right.
15 is suffice, I guess.
I would agree with you. About 50, I think it's about 15% of women who actually get this,
Right.
who actually understand this concept, right? And like I said, man, I think what it is when it comes to this baseless, meaningless term that we have been imposed upon us, emotional intelligence. I think most chicks who use this term, I don't think they understand this concept right here. And I can understand why, because like I said, for the past couple of so years, y'all been out here dealing basically with beta. Well, my man Jesse Lee Peterson been saying beta. Y'all been out here dealing with fuck niggas, man. Yeah. Y'all been out here dealing with dudes who actually care how y'all feel. Not saying that we don't care how you feel when it's in its proper context. I'm talking about out of context, right? And if you are a critical thinking person, you know what I mean when I just said what I said. I'm pretty sure it's going to be some of y'all emotionally intelligent people out there who's going to say, oh, see, once again, men make our decisions despite how we feel, not based off of how we actually feel. Imagine what the world would be like if powerful men made decisions based on how they feel. Just imagine that. Imagine if it was a whole bunch of emotional ass guys that had access to nuclear warheads. Now, you think Vladimir Putin is an emotionally intelligent guy? Do you think emotional intelligence is even a word that is allowed in the Russian lexicon? You think they over there at the Kremlin discussing emotional intelligence, man?
So is emotional intelligence just like a fancy handle for being in touch with your feelings?
Basically.
I mean, is it basically?
And like I said
And
earlier,
they want to make that the order of the day, like for everybody to. Okay.
see, my man Uncle Diggity is a very intelligent, in the know brother. But see, the reason why it may seem like we stuttering or stammering in this because we are trying to articulate fuckery. Y'all are asking critical thinking, rational, logical, reasonable, process elimination, deductive reasoning men to operate outside of our nature as if a woman would. And that's where y'all go wrong, ladies. Expecting us to feel in the way that y'all do. Because y'all make every decision in your life is based off of how you feel, your emotional state. Which is why women aren't good at leading. Women aren't good at being in control or in positions of authority, especially over men. And this is why there's no societies ever created or ran by women. Just imagine if we actually let emotionally intelligent women run shit. Just imagine that. Imagine if the military was ran by women. We wouldn't be here because y'all would have hit them nukes. Y'all have nuked each other out.
Motherfucker would have came to work with excuse me, came to work with her monthly visitor and killed everybody and shit.
Killed everybody at work, man.
Push the button like, nigga, I'm just mad at the world, nigga. Fuck off. No, sir, not at all.
Proper order and structure. God, man, woman, child. Each successive level is above the one below it, and each level below is subordinate to the one or ones above it. I didn't make it like that. Uncle Diggity ain't make it like that. Yeshua made it like that. So if you got a problem with that, maybe you should take that up with him. And if you don't believe, then you don't have to, right? That's up to you. But I kind of find it funny, Uncle Diggity, how most of these chicks who use this term also have the audacity to claim to be a follower of Yeshua HaMashiach.
I don't think emotional intelligence is necessarily a bad thing. Maybe the way they're trying to push that shit is maybe, weird, but it would be wise of you to have intelligence of your emotions and shit, because emotions are dangerous. I mean, emotions that you don't know what to do with and shit, that's the shit that make you act brash and shit like that.
Right.
So it's good to know your capabilities of when you're angry or when you're hurt, or you know you want to be happy and shit like that. It's good to have knowledge of that shit, but not to wear them on your sleeve and shit and operate a fucking society like that. Because anybody could say anything to you or do anything to you, and you ready to fucking bet the whole motherfucking house and shit.
Right.
And that ain't how you. That's not how you advance a society or advance anything for that matter. That's like a crash and burn mission.
Right.
So, yeah, emotional intelligence ain't necessarily a bad thing, but if they trying to swing it like, oh, everybody be in touch with their feelings and hug and let's cry and that ain't gonna get it done.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's exactly, especially here in the past, let's say 10 years, that's exactly how the term is being applied. That is exactly how it's being applied. And like I said, it's being used as a tool, I dare say a weapon, specifically, especially against men, masculine, free thinking, heterosexual, critical thinking, process of elimination, deductive reasoning, rational, right? Logical men, specifically, right? You don't have you don't have any emotional intelligence. You're not in touch with your emotional side. You're not being emotional in a situation where I feel you should be emotional, or you should be expressing this emotion. So that means you're toxic. It's toxic masculinity. You don't have any emotional intelligence. As if men are supposed to be emotional. Like I said, I'm pretty sure a lot of men could speak for this and agree with me on this. Whenever I made a decision based on how I feel, it always ended me up in a messed up situation. I can even think back to when I was a young boy, right? Up until now that I'm a grown man, even in recent times here recently, making decisions based on how I feel when I shouldn't have been having no feelings involved in that situation at all, as in far as my decision and what I was going to do as a result of the situation, right? Like I said, I got 3 penitentiary numbers. All are results of thinking with my emotions. Decisions made based on how I was feeling at the time. Not because how I was thinking, but from what I was feeling, right? Not too many guys would even have the courage to admit something like that. You know? Emotions make you sad sometimes. Y'all remember that song? They make you fall in love. Looking ass boy, right? Us men, ladies, us men do not make decisions based on how we feel. We make decisions despite how we feel, right? And it would behoove y'all to learn and know the difference, right? For the most part, us men, we don't expect women to act outside of their nature. We don't expect y'all to think or go about doing things like how we would. I know I don't. Uncle Diggity, you don't do that, do you?
No, sir.
Just imagine it, though. Imagine you expecting your girl to go about something like how you would.
Nah.
You know? Just imagine that, man. You know? And that's why I say, this is why I say to y'all, this is why there's a balance needed. Like my girl Melissa said earlier, that balance is needed, right? That yin and that yang, that masculine and that feminine. You feel me? We're the logic, we're the reason, we're the understanding, we're the deductive reasoning, the critical thinking, the logic. You hear me? No, we're not going to do that because of X, Y, and Z. And y'all come in with the feelings and the emotion and the nurturing for the children. Or when your man is under some duress or stress, or he's having, he needs some wise counsel on making a decision, and you just come in there and say, well, you know, babe, man, maybe if you thought about it like this, or maybe if you looked at it from this aspect, not telling him what to do, but suggesting, inspiring, motivating, counsel, right? Understand the difference between giving wise counsel and advice. It's the difference. They're not the same thing, right? Tap in and walk with us. We're about 2 hours in almost. You hear me? I'm going to drop the link again for anybody who may want to come up, add something, say something, question, challenge. The floor is always open. You hear me? You're welcome, man. You're all welcome. You got fat while we are starved. You got fat while we are starved. You know? It's my turn.
Something, and your mind continues to grow, it will never collapse again. See, the universe expands at the rate which light are reaching areas that it never reached before. So that means that when the universe is getting expanded, it's based on light reaching new places. The same thing that happened in your mind. Once you gain enlightenment, now your brain has been sparked in new ways. Now it cannot be closed again. Now you've seen 3 black men on stage with the most dapperest attire on this planet Earth teaching about financial education. You've been exposed to something that will change the foundation of your reality that you walk on every single day. So now that you've seen that, you can't go back to the streets, you can't go back to the hood, you can't just go back to your apartment and not want more for yourself. See, in America, they give us the American dream, so we never comfortable with what we have. But what is the United Kingdom vision? See, vision gives you direction. But without vision, you don't know where you're going. You are blind. So you must be exposed to things outside this land. And the most beautiful thing social media did is it exposed us to brilliant minds, education, perspective, and people that normally would have not gotten that opportunity.
Yeah. Let's give them 2 more. Emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence is how you deal with life. You know, I just learned that I'm a violent communicator. I know y'all probably wouldn't believe that. But violent communication goes to the theory that subconsciously we speak from a war mind to be either offensive or defensive. So I notice when I send things in short form, it lacks empathy, right? Because now a person can't properly understand me. The beauty about high-level conversations, it make it very hard to be misunderstood because I got out the full context of my point. So when we're talking about emotional intelligence, the thing about men lack emotional experience. Women grow up dealing with their emotions more than men. So when that is the reason that they mature at a faster rate than men, right? See, women are more equipped to deal with the low-level details. Men are more of the high-level concepts.
Huh? What have I been saying? Shout out to 19 Keys, man, right? What have I been saying? Men don't make decisions based on how we feel. This is why we run shit. Because if us men made decisions, important ones at that, based on how we feel, we'd be all fucked. Because see, like I say, amongst us men, we know how to conduct ourselves and remove emotions because we understand if we allow ourselves to get emotional when we having serious conversation amongst ourselves, it may be some things that be said that can result in some physical confrontation. And how we're going to do business with each other if this nigga the ops and he killed my homeboy, right? So we'll have to learn how to do business regardless of any of that. Right? So I vehemently disagree with this 19 Keys guys on a lot of things, but I agree with him on that right there. And he basically just said what I be saying, but in a different way. All right? Tap in and walk with us.
So when we look at the difference between the type of jobs that men and women go, is based on their emotional intelligence. So you as a man, when you learn how to deal with the spirit of yourself, then you can deal with your woman correctly, right? The problem is we get angry because we don't know how to identify the feeling. Have you been, are you jealous? Is this a jealous NGG that you putting out? Jealousy is when.
And let me stop him right there, right? Lance Parker said Steve Harvey is emotionally intelligent. Yeah, he is. Goofy ass dude. I'm about to disagree with him on that, right? Because men definitely know how to identify our emotions, right? We identify what our emotions are. We don't identify with our emotions, as in we don't get a sense of ourselves, who we are from how we feel. I'm going to repeat that because I know that probably went over some of y'all's heads, right? Men definitely know how to identify our emotions. Definitely know how to identify. I know exactly what I'm feeling when I'm feeling it. Now, do I get a sense of self from it? Do I identify with how I'm feeling in the moment as if it's what makes me who I am? No, not ever. Just because I'm angry right now doesn't mean I'm an angry person in total. Just because I'm upset right now doesn't mean I'm an upset person. Just because I'm a little miserable or maybe even a little sad right now doesn't mean I'm a sad person in total. Do you understand what I'm saying now? Why I say us men, we don't identify with our emotions, as in getting a sense of self from them as who we are. See, women, y'all identify who y'all are with your emotions as if that's what makes you who you are. Now, let me ask y'all this question. And I want some of the ladies to answer this if y'all in attendance, if you would. What makes you who you are? Anybody's more than welcome to come up on the panel and answer that question. Matter of fact, I'm about to type it in, right? That's the question right there. What makes you who you are?
You see somebody have something, and you don't want them to have it. You want it for yourself. Envy is when you particularly don't want them to have it, but you want it as well, right? And sometimes you don't know when you're being jealous or envious of your brother or your sister. But see, that emotional intelligence allows you to identify those factors and those flaws and bring them to light. Because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, when children start to experiment with sex, they do it in the dark. Because even a child has the innate nature that is wrong, so they don't do it in the light. So when we work on our shadow selves, and that's dealing with who you really are, who you don't show the world.
See, and this is where I be looking at this dude 19 Keys, man. Like, like this nigga been around too many bras, man. All that demonic demon time bullshit, witchcraft fuckery, shadow work and all that bullshit. That shit is demonic, right? Shadow work. Who operates in the shadows? Shadows indicates that something secret is going on that nobody knows about, which lets me know it's something going on that I wouldn't approve of. Who operates in the shadows? Not Yeshua. Not the Most High. So my question again, what makes you who you are? Let me correct that. Well, you know, I forgot to put an S on there, but y'all know what I mean. The fact that somebody's, when you say shadow work, that would imply that it's work being done behind the scenes, out of sight from everybody else, basically being done in the dark, which implies that it's something going on that's a secret, which lets me know what my critical thinking as is something going on that I would not approve of. Hence the term shadow work. Why can't it be light work? Not L-I-T-E, but L-I-G-H-T. Why can't it be done in the open for everybody to see? Huh? That's why I be saying about my, I mean, you know, I got respect for 19 Keys, but at the same time, you know, I question a lot of things about me. Let's go.
That if they seen this, would they still love me? But when you have the emotional intelligence to identify that and you act in a fearless manner, because courage is acting in the face of fear, not in the absence of it. So people ask me all the time, how do I become fearless? You have to act even when that feeling starts to creep up on you and try to stop you. That to me is divine emotional intelligence, not being afraid of your shadow self.
Yeah. Woo.
What is your shadow self? What is your shadow self? As if there's another self to you. There's only one self. So if there's only one you, right? What is this shadow self? That's some aspect of you that's in the dark? Is it my shadow? Like when I look on the floor, I see my shadow? When you look at your shadow, is that you? Much like your reflection in the mirror. Is that you? When you look in the mirror, is that you? Tap in and walk with me, man. When you look in the mirror, is your reflection, is that you? Let's go.
Y'all gonna learn today. I think the last one is most important, and it's something that has been a catchphrase of ours from the beginning. Information is going to be on us. Execution is going to be on you.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody in this room tonight is getting the information. But talk about the power of execution.
Y'all ever heard the story of the first procrastinators in history? So listen, this is what happened, right? It was one day, these two brothers, they was working. They chopping up bricks for the pyramids. And they've been doing this work every single day, right? They don't take no breaks. They get the work done for the day, then they go home. And then one day, this brother, he had this thing he was trying to see. So he said, how about we do this later? He said, let's do this tomorrow. He said, what is later and what's tomorrow? Because they didn't have no concept of it. It was always now and next. See, a baby concept of time is always now and next. We don't learn later till we get older. So what happened was, he said later, man, so you mean that this is a time we don't have to do it now? He said, that sounds good. So they both decided to do it later. Now, from their lineage, they created the ancestry of laziness and procrastination. Now, this is some people's ancestors in here. Some of you all waited last minute to get your ticket to come to InvestFest.
That's a
because
fact.
the science of procrastination is when you have pain in the mind and it stops you from moving forward. So I don't feel like doing it, so I'll do it later. And later never comes, so you never get it done. So what you have to do is you have to learn how to do now, because it says be and it is, not be and maybe later. See, we used to be a be and it is type of people. Any thought that I get, see, sometimes they time sensitive. See, sometimes that idea can be done at the wrong time and then it's failure, but the right idea at the right time always equals success. So you have to know that procrastination is the abortion clinic of ideas. But the most painful part of the pregnancy is when a woman is pushing and it's that crowning phase. Sometimes they got to put her under. Sometimes they got to do a C-section. But if you push through the pain, then you give birth to every idea that you have.
Shout out to 19 Keys, man. All right. Shout out to that brother, though, man. You know what I mean? Shout out to all the people out there trying to put people up on game and whatever they doing, and man, it's actually contributing to people making better decisions in their life and actually contributing to them being successful. You know, there's not too many people on this internet who are actually dropping game for real, man. You know what I mean? Not too many people that's doing that. You did? Uncle Diggity, man, you still there, bro? What you got to say? What you got to add, man?
Yeah, bro. I was just listening in. The nigga actually made that was a good point about being a doer and shit. About getting shit done off the top and not being a procrastinator.
Right.
That's definitely a gem. I mean, everybody should know that, but you know.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So to anybody out there struggling with whatever it is and shit, your best bet is to just put your best foot forward and go on and make shit happen, bro. And don't be afraid of the world and shit like that. Like, I don't know how niggas is mentally or whatever, but don't be afraid of the shit out there because you gotta have your shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Don't go crazy and start ripping shit apart, but put your best foot forward, man, on all fronts and shit. Your family relations, your pockets, your fucking standing in the community and shit. Shit that matters, you know what I mean? No time like the present to jump on that.
That's a fact. That's an ultimate fact. And just like me and my pops been telling y'all on Spiritual Roots Sunday, the only time we ever have is now. The past already happened. The future, we don't know what lays in it. The only time we ever have is now. Now, right, this moment right here is the most important moment ever. Simply because it's the only moment ever. And I want y'all to understand that, right? This whole concept of past, future, present, when we all are in the constant now, right? And through the illusion of time, we are led to believe that the past actually exists, right? When in all actuality, it does not. The only time that actually ever exists, actually ever matters, is right now. Like I say, 10 minutes from now, it's going to be 9:28. No, it's going to be now. All right. I want y'all to understand that. You feel me? You know what I'm saying, man? Y'all tap in, walk with us, man. Beautiful show tonight, man. Uncle D, you got anything else you want to add to the situation, man? We ain't gonna drag this one out too long. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm good, man. Peace and love to everybody. I'm finna go in here and watch the Lakers and shit. All right, see if they can go up 2-0. Emotional intelligence is not necessarily a bad thing. Like I said earlier, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but just I want to be vulgar, but shit, everybody have a peaceful night, man, ladies. Another L right here.
All right, you know we getting into it tomorrow, man. Friday night wrap up. So we'll see you tomorrow, brother.
Yeah, man. Peace and love, man.
Oh, you already know, bro. Shout out to my brother Uncle Diggity from that old LA, man. He said he wanted to say something. You know what I'm saying? We be on that bullshit every now and again. You know what I'm talking about? But for the most part, you know what I'm saying, we keep it pretty much thorough over here. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, man. You know what I mean? Thanks to everybody for coming out tonight, man. You know what I'm talking about? Like I said, there ain't no need to drag this out. There ain't no need to have no long. We pretty much hit the nail on the head. You know what I'm saying? and this is what I'm saying, y'all. I know a lot of people take things out of context, right? I'm not saying that emotional intelligence isn't real. I'm not saying it's not a thing. What I'm saying is that the context in which it's being imposed upon us, especially now, I'm saying that isn't based or rooted in any actual meaning because it's so subjective. It's wide, it's broad. It's so broad that it could apply to anybody for anything based on how they're feeling at the time, right? Like I said, it's just like living my best life. You know what I'm saying? Who determines what living your best life is? You, right? But just because you determine what that means for you, that not necessarily mean what it means for me, right? And in that, the term has no meaning. Because if that's the case, it would mean the same thing for everybody. And I want y'all to understand that when we come up with these baseless, ominous words and word pairings and phrases that can all be have their meaning based on by what we feel they are, right? I want y'all to understand how that gives no meaning to these words and compound words and these sayings, right? And I want y'all to even furthermore understand what does that mean as far as implications for us collectively, especially considering our freedom of speech and our freedom to express ourselves, right? Because if emotional intelligence is going to be the measuring stick by how we make decisions, what does that say about our society? Where's that going to lead our society? What if the military was forced to have to operate with emotional intelligence? And because they see a 12-year-old, they see an 8-year-old kid walking up on them in Iraq, you know, do they gun him down? Or do they allow him to walk up on him with an implement explosive device and kill the whole regiment? Huh? See what I'm saying? Emotional intelligence applies to certain situations, but when it comes to important decision making in cases of war, emotional intelligence is not only irrelevant, but it's detriment. Huh? Oh man, my brother told me a couple stories about when he was in Iraq, right? And he had to do what I just said, right? See, that was a point where his emotional intelligence, if he would have used it in the context to which most of y'all, especially y'all females out there, use it and apply it, him and his whole damn platoon would have been fucking dead right now. But see, in the case of warfare, you have to be completely devoid of your emotions because they will get you in a state of straight fuckery. If not, lose your life. And this is why women don't make good soldiers. Because if a little girl run up on you as a female soldier in Iraq, your first inclination as a female and a woman is to protect her. Ask her what's wrong with her. This little broad got a whole 25-pound sticky bomb taped to her. About to blow you and your whole entire squad up. Huh? There's no room for emotions on the battlefield. So what does that say about the U.S. military when they allow fun boys and fun girls to serve on the front lines? Mm-hmm. And you wonder why they're bringing in the robot army, because robots don't have emotions. Robots don't operate under emotional intelligence algorithms. They follow protocol. That's what a robot going to do. Robot going to. That's what he's going to do. He's not going to ask you how you feel. A robot's not going to have the emotional intelligence to think how you're feeling at the moment. Robot's going to follow protocol. It's going to follow orders. It's going to go according to what it's programmed to do. And this is why they're implementing the robot army, because emotional intelligence is something that's not going to apply to them because they don't operate under emotions. They're robots. They don't even have feelings. Right? They're not going to make rash and brash decisions based off of how they feel given a certain situation in a battlefield scenario. Tap in and walk with me. I really enjoyed tonight's show, man. For real, man. You know? You know? You did. Yeah, man. When it comes to a topic that's actually challenging your critical thinking, I notice certain groups of people don't show up, right? And that's cool. You know, we're gonna have a conversation regardless or not, but understand that over here at April Talk, every Thursday is ladies' night. Might have a female guest, might have a beautiful woman on as a guest, or we're gonna be talking about a discussion or a topic of discussion concerning the fair sex, so to say, or the beautiful ladies, as I like to refer to them. You need to tap in and walk with us, man. Tomorrow night, I'm gonna pull it up on the screen for y'all. Tomorrow night, man, we going in, man. Y'all know how we do it. E&E Fridays, Friday night wrap up. Going in. Let me pull it up. Yeah, we're going in, right? Tomorrow night, y'all know how we do it. They definitely are not, man, a pursuit of your emotions. That's what I'm saying. Them is two words. Like I said, they don't even fit together. Because the fact that you have the ability to identify and express your emotions ain't got nothing to do with your intelligence. It has nothing to do with your ability to learn. You can be a straight psychopath, completely devoid of emotions and empathy, and still be a fucking genius, right? Much like Sheldon Cooper, right? He was so intelligent and smart in everything technical, but when it came to matters of the heart, he was not so fluent, right? But and this is where I'm talking about, that's that thin line. Like I say, to be a well-rounded man, you have to be able to, one, identify your emotions, two, express them in a healthy, productive way, and three, but also never allow yourself to become in a state of emotionalism or emotional, like a female, right? And like my girl Melissa said earlier, that's that balance. You got to have the balance. You got to have the balance of being able to identify your emotions, being able to express them in a productive and healthy way, while also not allowing yourself to be consumed or controlled by them. That's some game for y'all right there, man. Tomorrow night, y'all know how we do it. Tap in, walk with us. You did. Tap in and walk with us, man. We're going to get straight to it. You know, tap in, walk with us, man. Smash that like button, click on the bell, subscribe to the page, and share it on your social engineering. Going down, man. You did. You know what I'm talking about? Smash that like button, click on the bell, subscribe to the page, and share it on your social engineering. Tell everybody to come tap in with us. Everybody's welcome. You hear me? Everybody's welcome. You're all welcome. You know, you did, right? We're gonna get up out of here, everybody, man. We're gonna leave y'all with this selection for the ladies. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna leave this song right here for the ladies. You know what I'm talking about? I know a lot of y'all ladies probably think like a lot of us men, y'all probably think we're narcissistic and emotionally unintelligent. Huh? You know, and that's okay, right? I just want to let y'all know, you know what I mean? Y'all don't determine such things, right? Men do, right? So with that being said, a lot of y'all conflate and confuse, right? Especially amongst men, where y'all be expecting us men to think in emotional terms or think things, look at things and through the lenses of emotionalism, like how y'all do, right? And then when we don't, we are deemed to not have emotional intelligence, which, as we dissected tonight, is basically a fucking meaningless word that don't really mean nothing. It means whatever you want it to mean, which means it can mean anything, which means it actually doesn't mean anything. Much like living my best life, right? And I just challenge y'all to actually think critically, break stuff down, try to remove your emotions from your decision making. I know this can prove to be very difficult, if not impossible, for a lot of y'all chicks, man. Because like I say, y'all are the embodiment, the manifestation, personification of emotions and emotionalism. It is. It's very oxymoronic. It's very oxymoronic. Yes, it is, Men in Pursuit. It's very oxymoronic. Like I said, it has such a wide, broad meaning that it renders it meaningless. Right? So y'all tap in and walk with us. I'm gonna leave y'all with this selection like I did at the beginning of the show, bro. Coming in. Hey, ladies, man, I know y'all might be feeling some type of way, man. Right? That's okay. I, as a man, dealing with numerous types of women throughout my life, I understand that y'all are emotional creatures. Y'all identify with y'all emotions. Y'all identify with your emotions so much that y'all get a sense of yourself, who you are, based off of how you feel. And I'm here to tell you, as a critical thinking, very extremely intelligent man, right, that how you feel doesn't make you who you are. And my question still remains, what makes you who you are? Do you know? Do you really know? Right? Ask yourself that question. What makes me who I am? What you'll find is that the question to the answer always lies within the question. Exactly, Uncle Diggity. Right? And that's why I said we as men make decisions not based off of how we feel, but despite how we feel. And I tell y'all chicks all the time, if y'all would sit up there and understand this paradigm, your interactions in relationships with men will exponentially increase. When y'all stop expecting men, to look at things through their lenses of emotion like how y'all do, I guarantee you, I promise you that your relationships with men that you interact with will increase and get better once you realize how men think and how men operate. Because a lot of y'all chicks think y'all know how we think and how we act, and y'all absolutely do not. Y'all absolutely have no clue, and that's crazy. Because a lot of y'all, especially y'all black girls, y'all been dealing with nothing but black dudes all your life, and y'all still do not know black men. On the other hand, we know y'all very well. And when I say we, I mean us men. I don't mean these fuck niggas y'all been messing with. I don't mean the fuck nigga you had a baby by. I don't mean that. I mean, real ones. Myself, my brother Uncle Diggity, all my brothers in the chat, right? Real ones. My brother Red, shout out to my brother Red. Real ones, man. My brother Spark, who gonna be coming doing a show on Saturday. Hey, me and my homie Spark. Spark is my homie from the hood, man. We literally grew up with each other. And I'm gonna have my brother Spark come on Saturday. We're gonna chop it up about a whole bunch. We just gonna chop up game on Saturday night. It ain't even no specific issue or topic. We're gonna chop it up about. We just gonna chop up game on Saturday. And we're gonna take y'all down memory lane and take y'all on the journey on the hood, where we from, how we know each other, things that we experienced growing up and learning through the course of becoming a man and where we at now. We're gonna have that discussion on Saturday. Yeah, it does. Yeah, but even that ain't got nothing to do with your feelings or your emotional intelligence or lack thereof. If you could lack an emotional intelligence, if it's even possible for you to lack an emotional intelligence, especially as a man, right? Y'all know what it is, man. Tap in, walk with us, man. Smash that like button, click on the bell, subscribe to the page, sharing your social engineering. God damn it, we about to love it. We're gonna start how we finish. We're gonna finish how we start. Talk to them. Hey, ladies, man, I love y'all, man. Tap in with us.
Yeah.
You know, it comes a time in every man's life when we're ready to settle down and make things right, but only for that special one. We be trying to make her you, but y'all want to keep playing games with these lanes. So make your next move your best move, because we the best dudes. Oh yeah, don't settle for less, babe.
I can love you better than you can imagine.
Oh, there's only one, and there's only one.
Girl, I don't know why you keep these lanes around.
The difference between who you are and what
Wildin' out.
Tap in.
Don't you settle for less.
What up, beauty queen? You know I really wanna invite you to my world and show you my unique persona. We can get together, steam it up like a sauna, take you on the natural high, no marijuana, just a bottle of wine, some ice chill Prosecco. You holding on to that lame dude, you should let go. Knew you was gonna be mine from the very get-go. I'm trying to make you white because you special. You got the best clothes, designer fresh clothes, make your own dough, own your home dough, vehicle is fully paid for, that frame flame though, selfie queen, you know your angles. Red bottom heels, 5 diamond encrusted bangles. We got the same goals, copping land and counting bankrolls, creating generational wealth, so our seeds grow. I know your needs though, and you know mine's the same. It's an honor and a privilege to give you my last name.
I can love you better than you can imagine. Take it from madness. Girl, I don't know why you keep these lanes around. You wildin' out. Don't you settle for less.
Trips and shopping sprees, you know that's mandatory. I'm trying to open your mind, peep the allegory. They say that love don't last, so let's change the story. I send my heart out to you, please come for me. Let's take control of our love, no conforming. Late night love sessions lasting till the early morning. Cooking breakfast, but naked eggs, bacon and toast. Fried potatoes and onions, girl, I love you the most. When my body be aching, you rub the pain out. Roll up the Dutchess for me while I pour champagne out. I pour my heart and my soul, plus my pain out. You got a real one right shit, so leave them lanes out.
You gotta be, girl, please stop with the games. The mother ladies wasting your time, girl. Why that number even in your phone? They always think it's time. You should just fuck with me. So don't settle, don't settle, don't settle for love.
Stacks with the facts. one that's gonna be there in the season, baby. Don't settle for less. Know your worth, baby. Facts of you don't settle for less, baby.
Take you from the back.
Know your self-worth.
Girl, I don't know why you keep these flames around, yeah. Father, now, don't you settle for less.